Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Welcome back to another episode of Wisco Fanatics. We have a full house. Simon decided to join us today, so thank you, Simon. Bryant is back again. Tyler, myself, as always. Today is March 8th, 2024. I always like to say the date just to kind of put that bookmark in there for future reference. When we go back and listen to this, when we're making six figures talking about sports, we're going to really, really enjoy these videos. Today on the menu,
he's including the decibels. He's including the decimal.
No, I'm not. No decimals, just commas, baby. We're going to be talking some free agents, a wish list, pretty much. Some realistic, some kind of wish listy. 5 on offense, 5 on defense. We limited ourselves to 2 trades, even though I only made up 1. I couldn't think of another one that was kind of realistic. I didn't want to go too crazy and be like, hey, I'm on Madden on easy mode, So
Yeah.
I only came up with 1. And then the Bucks play tonight against the Lakers without LeBron James, so the Bucks are going to get a win. So everybody in the Bucks Nation who has the sky falling, it's going to be okay. It's going to be just fine. Chris Middleton will come back, okay? Just want to let everybody know that. But we're focusing on the Packers today. They have a lot of ways to create cap space. I was messing around on the website over the cap all day today. I did not focus on work one bit. I hope that none of my coworkers or bosses are watching this episode right now. I've been talking about it all week. But there's a lot of ways for us to create a lot of cap space. Getting rid of guys like Bakhtiari and Campbell automatically creates around $30 million. You could talk about restructures with Jair and Elton Jenkins and Kenny Clark. And there's a lot of ways for us to create a lot of crazy cap space. Obviously, we have a big giant contract on the horizon here, maybe the biggest in NFL history. But, what's crazy to me is every year it seems like this is the biggest contract in NFL history. This is the biggest contract in NFL history. This is the biggest contract. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we're up next on that tier because we know how to draft quarterbacks. Ha, Bears fans. Enjoy drafting another one. So with that being said, Simon, what's going on, man?
Nothing.
Working.
Tell us
more.
So I haven't been able to. I did a 2-week training exercise. It wasn't that bad, actually. It stayed above freezing for the most part. So went out and actually built almost an igloo. We built like a snow cave for us to sleep in one night because the wind was so bad. We just dug a hole in the side of the snow.
Wait, they don't have tents?
We did, but the tents blew over. It was 50 mile per hour winds. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Just thinking about
cancel the exercise,
Basically.
You can live in a hole in the ground.
That's how we stayed warm.
All right, so let's jump into trade targets. Let's get the trades done, and then the rest will be all free agency. So, Bryant, since I know you probably came up with multiple trade ideas, give me your first trade target.
I really only came up with 2. This one's the more realistic one I think that could happen, and I know it's crazy because there's a lot of them on the market, but maybe Arizona's ready to move Budda Baker this year. I think that, I just put maybe a 3rd or something like that. It might cost a 2nd, but if we give a 2nd, I want them to throw a 4th back or something like that. Yep, there you go. So
Budda Baker for a 3rd.
Yeah. So I swear I didn't see your notes. But yeah, I'm thinking Budda Baker would be a good one to go after. I think he's still 20, I believe, 8 or something like that.
He's 28, yeah.
So he'd be, we can extend him. He'd be around for the next few years. While we're in that window that we believe we're opening up. So it's not like a 1-year fix or anything. So I think Budda Baker would be one of my realistic targets.
Steve, the Bears are going to take the North and never give it back. Don't forget that.
Weren't they going to do that when Trubisky was their quarterback? We're on to that's 2 quarterbacks ago.
Whenever it was
3.
Cole's first day, his introduction was we're going to take the North and never give it back. And they've only taken 4th place since then.
So close.
Yikes.
Yeah, 4. I mean, 4 is close to 1 if
Yeah.
you don't have more
He meant
than
the
14.
he meant the north spot on the draft board. Like they're going to be at the top
Oh,
drafts.
good one. That was a good take.
Number 1 always in April, huh?
Point for Bryant.
All right, Brian. My only one is the same as yours. Why don't you just rip your second one right away?
Okay, my other one would be like, I don't know that the Colts will do it, but if we can get Jonathan, if something doesn't work out with Aaron Jones, do we look for Jonathan Taylor?
Ooh, interesting.
So I don't know what that would entail. I don't know if that includes Christian Watson at that point, but probably a second at minimum. But the Colts kind of had a sneaky good team last year. I don't trust Anthony Richardson to stay healthy, so we'll see what happens. But if that could be a phone call they make.
If they're like they franchise tagged Michael Pittman and they haven't done a deal with him yet, if they're looking to maybe clear some cap space and give it to Michael Pittman, say, who's been, I would say, healthier than Jonathan Taylor over the last couple of years, that could be an option. The thing is that the price tag is probably going to go up because he's extended, and he's under control for a little while longer.
Really, for as far as on our side, I was gonna say,
right.
But for his contract, it's pretty affordable, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
He got a pretty fair deal, honestly. I think that contract was kind of like a win-win. But
I agree.
Simon, what do you got for trade target ideas?
I also did not have Buda Baker. I definitely had Buda Baker. So I don't know exactly what this would entail because it's kind of a weird situation. But I was looking at Carolina, especially with how they fumbled. Well, we'll see what happens with Bryce Young. They kind of are in almost they're going to be in a really bad rebuild mode, and maybe they're looking to offload a player. I thought J.C. Horn might be an interesting player to go after because he's had some sort of bad injury luck, maybe a change of scenery. We could get him a little cheaper, but he's still like a good player when he's on the field. So maybe giving up like a second or a third for J.C. Horn. He's still a young player. He's good. Just a little bit down on the luck. And Carolina is probably looking to get a little bit more draft capital going in the future.
And we just add those 3 picks. Dude, that 5th round that's pretty high too. It's the second comp in that round. So that must have been for Lazard, huh?
Yeah. Okay. It was Lazard, Reed, and Dean Lowry.
Oh, Lowry.
How did Lazard work out for you guys? Thank you for that extra pick.
Yeah.
And I like
I was just gonna say hello to Yoli because she said hello.
Hello.
Simon, you have another one, or is that your only one?
Buda Baker was my other one.
Buda Baker was your other one. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you said you didn't. You did.
I did. I was being
facetious.
Yes.
Fictitious.
I wanted Brian to say fictitious.
I was waiting for Brian to try to chime in.
All right, Jake, what do you got for some trade ideas?
Do not hate me, okay?
I already hate you.
This is strictly just an idea in my head about building like a crazy front four because we're going to a 4-3, okay? I'm going to say the player we're going to trade first, and you guys are all going to flip out. We're going to trade Carl Brooks.
Okay.
Now just hold on a second. Hold on.
Okay.
We're going to trade Carl Brooks and our 4th, number 125. We're also going to give up our 6th round comp pick, the one for Jaron Reed. And we're going to take in Dexter Lawrence and the New York Giants 4th rounder. Because listen, they are dangerously close to a rebuild as well. And his cap hit isn't very bad this year, but it goes up next year. So if they want to get a head start on this rebuild, creating some cap space, you put Dexter Lawrence next to Kenny Clark, run the ball, I dare you.
I don't hate it.
I know getting rid of Carl.
Interesting.
I had to really get rid of somebody. Carl Brooks is probably the best young guy that they could take. They could get, a good player and a lot of cap space, really.
Yeah, as long as other teams actually look at Carl Brooks and not as a 6th round pick or a 5th round pick and look at what he did this year and his trajectory or his potential.
I'm sure there's football people that look at him differently than
you said Brooks are 6th and a 4th.
Yep, for Dexter Lawrence. And the other part of this, the reason why I'm giving up 2 draft picks, that makes it a little bit more likely. The Giants only have 7 picks, so they're probably going to want a couple of picks. So you give them that extra pick for the swap. They get the extra 6th rounder. They get younger. They get a guy at D tackle that's still going to be good. He's a good project player, and you create a lot of cap space. That was the most realistic one I could think of, honestly. That would also like benefit us in a really.
When you were talking about creating a nuts front four, like the first name that popped into my mind was Joey Bosa.
Joey Bosa would be crazy.
I don't know.
I just want D tackles. I'm so sick and tired of giving up like 7 yards a run, dude. Like, come on.
So, and we'll get into some of that with the free agency stuff. I want to answer Steve's question. Steve asked, would an extension for Budda Baker be necessary? I think his cap hit is fairly big.
Oh yeah.
But his cap hit is $19 million. His dead cap is only 3. Actually, it's closer to 4. But honestly, it's something that if you did do an extension, you could probably lower that cap hit. And it's also possible that Arizona restructures him and is still willing to trade him, which would make it easier to trade him then if his cap hit is lower.
For sure, if you trade for him, you're extending him at least.
Yeah, you're probably,
that's what he's looking for.
You basically have to.
That's why he wants out of Arizona, so he's not just going to come play for us for the 1 year. Not likely. Anyway.
Yeah. I just wanted to look what his.
Well, if you trade for him, the GM's going to want to get a deal done basically ahead of time anyway.
He just turned 28, so I'd be willing to give him
3 years, 30 million, 35 million or something if you can get him to sign that. That'd be that'd be a really good deal on our end.
Also, safeties are playing in almost their mid-30s. They can still be pretty effective.
Yeah.
Woodson we're talking about Charles Woodson, but he made a transition to free safety. He's still playing at like 36 years old.
So is Tremont
He's still
Williams.
like Tremont Williams. There are plenty of guys.
So Steve, his dead cap for Arizona would be about $4 million. We pick up the rest, which would be about 15. And again, that's something that could be restructured, converted to signing bonus, whatever. Russ Ball is a wizard, so probably should have prefaced that before you free agents. But Jake, do you have another trade idea yet, or is that the only one?
No, I couldn't think of anything crazy. I was trying to think of like a sign and trade deal for Winfield because he's probably going to get franchised. He already did. Yeah. So I was trying to think of like a sign and trade deal for him, but I couldn't come up with anything where like both teams kind of won. I don't want to make it like Madden where like I'm forced trading anything. So
I seen one earlier that was kind of interesting. And so I won't take credit for it, but I was just kind of flipping through stuff. But it said, and I know this is what someone I said last year. Obviously, it didn't happen, but it was the safety out of San Francisco, Hufanga. Yeah, because with them wanting to re-sign Ayuk and then them getting Jair Brown from Penn last year, who played pretty good, and Hufanga got injured in October. That'd be someone you could trade for maybe and get cheap or whatever. I thought that might be interesting.
I'd be interested in that.
So
that dude blaze the wood and he can cover.
He's a fucking ball.
Yeah. I like Hufanga. I'd be okay with that. Spoiler alert, I had Justin Simmons on my trade list, so he didn't make it to my free agent list. So, I am strongly interested in Justin Simmons, even though he did not make it to my free agent list because he was 2 days ago on my trade list. So, Steve asked, in a perfect world, which safety is best suited for Green Bay, regardless of his availability?
We'll get there.
Need 2 of them.
Regardless of availability.
Let's just answer Steve's question based on, let's say guys who aren't going to come up in our conversation. Like, let's say established guys on, other teams that we can maybe use as a model for like what we want our safeties to do.
Taylor Rapp, who just got re-signed.
Fucking that made me so mad because he was like number 2 on my list and then he got re-signed and I'm like, mother.
He's a really good safety.
and he's cheap. Like he's way overperforming for like the $5 million he's getting paid.
Yeah. I liked him last year in the free agency market.
So did I.
I was hoping he would make his way over.
Yep. He went too far east. I would say the easy answer is a guy like say Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
Jesse Bates,
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, Jesse Bates is good.
Antoine
really
good. Jake just brought him up.
Yeah, Antoine Winfield.
Jesse Bates is so good.
Yeah, he's good.
He was like my dream free agent last year.
I knew it wasn't going to happen, but
last year.
Yeah, I think he was.
He hit the market this year. It had been more possible.
That's fair.
Malik Hooker, I think, is a good player.
Yeah, we'll get in. Like I said, we're going to get into some guys that are available. So Justin Simmons would be one that I would throw out there. All right, so let's go current Packers free agents. We're going to go offense, then defense. We're going to keep it simple. We're just going to say the name, and we're all going to give a thumbs up, thumbs down to keep or to let them go. And if there's any outliers among the four of us, we'll talk about it. But if we're in agreement, we'll just keep her moving. So
Moving.
starting on offense, AJ Dillon.
Sorry, AJ.
I love AJ.
Yeah,
We all love AJ.
sorry. I feel bad doing that, but
Hey, can I preface this with like, unless they come like on a super affordable deal for like a 1 year proven. If he's like, I'll come back for like a 1 year 1.5 and we don't find anyone, it's fine.
I also have a couple people that are like maybes depending on contract and what's expected.
that's fair.
My maybes are all on defense, but
Yeah, same.
and he's another situation where,
Well-
like, let's say the Packers spend their first 5 picks on other positions and they draft like a 4th round running back that they want to like develop, and they want to use AJ as like a bridge. Like you could do worse things, I guess.
Yeah.
We're not signing Derrick Henry either, so I don't want to see people saying that.
He was number 1 on my free agency list.
It'd be a fun signing, but we're not
Didn't
going
say
to
it wouldn't be fun. All right. Ethan said, let's keep Dillon. I mean, okay, if we're looking at it objectively, that we're looking at just his production and we're separating the player from the play, because like I said, we all said it. We all love AJ Dillon. We absolutely love AJ Dillon. But looking at it from a performance perspective, like I said, the Packers could do worse. They could also do better. Which is just bottom line.
Yeah.
All right. Josh Nyman.
That's like,
No, I said no.
Yeah.
I think
So-
he's gonna get a contract that we're not gonna be able to afford anyways.
My thing, I put on to let him go because I think he deserves a shot to try to get a starting job.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think it's with us.
I want to keep him for depth. So I am being
Greedy.
I want to keep him for depth. That's it. He plays both tackles. So
Here's the reason why I think his contract's gonna. This free agents market
Not many
for tackles is gross. So someone's gonna overpay him,
So maybe
and I
like
don't
8 or
think it's
9
gonna
million.
be us. Yeah,
yeah, but the draft class for tackles is really good.
Dude,
it
the
is
draft
really
class
good.
Tackles is wild. We're 2 weeks away from that. That's going to be crazy. We're all going to have top 10 lists, and 9 of our 10 could go in the first round.
It's gonna be nuts.
Steve asks, is Dillon better suited for gap or power? Is it possible he thrives in a different scheme? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when we get to defense, some of those guys are going to be the exact same scenario where it's like, we could keep them cheap, sure, but they could thrive in change of sceneries.
Yeah.
Or
And
change of scenery.
like for Dillon, it's just like he's good at some stuff, but he's not great at like any particular thing. And for someone that size, he needs to be averaging like 3 yards after contact, and he just doesn't. He goes down so easily.
And short yardage, which is going to be something that I talk about in my offensive guys, something like that. Steve said up to 12 tackles are rumored as possible first rounders. I don't know about 12.
12. That I don't think. Yeah, there's no way.
I think
They'd
even if
be
you count the
reaching
guys
it.
that are
They
like
probably have a-
senior guard tackles, I think I saw like 9, maybe 10. I don't know about 12. 12 is high.
But if you include just wide receivers and quarterbacks in that, that's like 20.
It's going to be like 28 up
Yeah.
to 32.
And I can't see that happening.
Not with the
Steve
cornerback.
said heard on the combine.
Cornerbacks,
I don't
too.
know. Whoever said that is pumping it up a little too much.
I think so.
Ethan said, agreed, we need offensive line draft and DBs and pass rush. And that's absolutely going to be a talking point for today. And then, so Ethan, I can give you the rundown. The positions of need that we're going to cover with our draft prep starting 2 weeks from now is going to be offensive line, because we're always going to talk about it. Then we're doing defensive line, which is going to be D tackles and edge. And then we're doing DBs. So we're going to do safeties and corners.
Yep.
And then we're doing linebackers and running backs. And then we're going to have a mock draft episode, which Mike Spofford is going to join us for. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Don't forget wide receiver, first round, baby.
Oh, yeah.
And
Trading up
both
into the top
second-round
5
picks.
to get Marvin Harrison Jr. when he falls to number 4. Ethan said, how about the Badgers center, Tanner Bortolini? He will absolutely be in our conversations when we get to
100%.
O-line a couple weeks from now. But he looked great at the combine, so
Maybe.
good for him.
He had a disgusting combine. Super good.
Yeah. All right, next guy, Josiah DeGuara.
Yeah, two.
Ben Sims
I'm
passed him
done.
up. Tucker Kraft passed him up after like 5 weeks. Ben Sims passed him up after like 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not great.
This one's a little tougher. Tyler Davis.
Yeah, it depends if he comes super cheap, but it's got to be vet minimum.
So I have him as like a maybe, strictly for special teams.
I mean, he'd be our tight end 4 anyways.
Yep.
And he's coming off an ACL.
And our special teams. Yeah, that's how I view Tyler Davis. Steve said Tanner made some money at the combine. He definitely probably moved himself up a round, maybe 2. John Runyon.
Yeah, he's a maybe for me. If we can catch him on the cheap as a depth piece, because I think his position is ultimately going to get taken this offseason.
He played better. Yeah.
He played better than Sean Ryan down the stretch.
I think even if they don't replace him, I think Sean Ryan already has the inside track on the starting job.
I'll just say this. We've seen him play good football in a Packers uniform before. So it's not like you're wishing to see it. We have seen it. So he's capable of it. Right. So if we get him on a good deal, he could win the starting job and I could feel okay about it.
Yeah.
He outplayed Ryan, I think, towards the last part of the year too.
He did.
Right. I'll throw this out there too. If they say the Packers were to upgrade at center and you have a little bit more of a trustworthy guy to the left of him, then I'm also okay with keeping a guy like Runyon.
I feel that.
Okay. Caleb Jones.
He's on a
if he's restricted, that's
he's exclusive rights free agent. So his contract's gonna be cheap as fuck anyways.
Yep.
We just don't need him. But
Steve said Packers O-line had 2 sacks over the past 5 weeks. John Run Jr. is a part of that. I get that he's a part of it. And like to Jake's point, he's had good games. He's had good years. So I'm not saying that like we need to get rid of him so much as I think there are other options there.
Well, there's definitely other options.
Yeah. And we're going to get to it. So we'll get to that. Last one I have on the offensive side of the ball is just Patrick Taylor.
I want to say thumbs up. I feel bad for that guy. I feel so bad for him.
Honestly, I'm still a little salty at that 4th and 2 that he stopped running his route, that he would have like walked in for a touchdown.
Yeah, that was experience though.
Steve said Jones has never played a snap. Has he? It's time. I mean, to be fair, he's been behind Bakhtiari, Rasheed Walker, and Zach Tom, and Yash Nyman.
He played like 1 special team snap ever.
So if Yash Nyman is to say get signed by, let's just say Dallas signs him because Tyron Smith signed somewhere else, and the Packers need that extra swing tackle, I think Caleb Jones could potentially be that. You know, obviously, God forbid something happens to Zach Tom or to Rasheed Walker, that Caleb Jones gets put in.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's a guy worth keeping around for depth.
Yeah. And the draft will be huge for that too. Like that's another player I think you wait till after draft because I won't be surprised, not to jump into draft stuff, but I don't think it's outside of the realm that we draft a minimum of 3 offensive line players this draft. So.
Oh, we will.
Totally could see it. Totally could see 3 offensive linemen, maybe even more. Ethan said, what about our kicking situation? Late 7th round pick. Honestly, I think there's enough free agents out there that you can just bring in competition.
Yeah.
I want to draft that chubby guy from the Missouri, dude.
Dude, I seen
That'd be
that
funny.
big boy.
I was watching the combine stuff the one day, just kind of in the background, and I ended up looking up, and this chubby white dude was kicking. I'm like, bro, that's a Packers kicker all day, dude.
He ran the 40 too.
You get Rich Bisaccia cooking up a couple of fakes and have that dude run a DB over, and everybody in the
Dude, he's the goal line back. Look at the thighs on this guy.
The vibes would be immaculate.
Oh, they would be.
All right, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. First guy I have on defense is Keyshawn Nixon.
Only if the expectations are like a CB like 5 or 6 and we mostly use him for a returner. Like
Yeah, a lot
he's
of our
fine in
returners,
like
I
a
feel he hurts
pinch.
us. Now, if they make that rule, and fine, because he's so explosive. But honestly, with the current rule right now, he hurts us as a returner.
And honestly, if you want to look at just the return aspect of it, we have other guys that can do it. Especially, let's say the Packers pick Cooper DeJean with their first round pick. He's another guy with return experience.
Yeah, but I don't
I don't
want to
think
put
we
a
need to
guy
keep
back
him
there.
just for the sake of having a corner as insurance for other guys.
I mean, it's a lot of dependencies on contract, and I guess like he put out a bunch of tweets today that made it sound like he's not coming back anyways.
Yeah. Arnold Savage.
Not with what's on the market. I can't.
I agree.
Yeah.
God damn it! This is my toxic ex.
Okay, if we were to bring
I
in,
don't want to say no. I love him.
Back up.
For me, it's dependent on if we bring in a guy that can play and we get him on a cheaper deal, then I'm
if
okay.
we
with
don't need him to be the guy that tackles and plays center field, if we can get a guy that's a center fielder and allow him to fly around towards the line of scrimmage, he'd be tremendous.
I honestly, there are free agents available that can do both.
Yeah, but and I don't.
My thing with Savage, it boils down to once I saw that he missed 17% of his tackles, I was done.
Well, just think about it. Just in that last game, he drops a pick 6 and he misses the tackle on Christian McCaffrey. It's just too inconsistent.
I know, but like, what about the Cowboys game when he basically put that game on ice?
Okay, but good safeties make both of the plays.
I didn't say that he was an all-pro. He is a good safety.
I don't even want him on the field anymore. Let someone else deal with him.
I think he's an okay safety. Savage is the guy that when I mentioned A.J. Dillon, like he's the other guy that I think could benefit from a change of scenery. So like where I'm saying that I don't particularly want Savage back because I think you could draft guys that would be just as good and you could sign guys that would be much better, that I would be okay with letting Savage go and not surprised to see him do well somewhere else and still be happy for him and not be like, oh my God, how could the Packers let him go?
He's like a safety 3 or 4, fine. But we need to rehaul that whole room.
Yeah. You question said in European football, I'm assuming soccer, there is such a concept called the Ultras crowd. If you've heard of it, they sing the whole game, throw smoke flares, firecrackers in the United States. Does something exist? No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any way you're getting away with something like that.
Well, no, because there's too many dipshits in this country.
European soccer crowds are something else.
Yeah.
Not that it's bad because it's hype, but
if you want to see a crowd like that, anything close I've been to was a Korean baseball game. They like have cheerleaders in the stands and they sing and chant the whole time. And
really,
yeah,
it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I mean,
I think the closest American version you get to that is like when like college football crowds get super hyped up, like when you see like the Penn State crowd and they're singing like Mo Bamba and stuff, like it gets
country
wild.
roads in West Virginia or something like that.
Yeah, right. Have a good night, Ethan. Take care. Thanks for popping in.
My own grandpa down in Alabama. Is that the song they sing down
there? Or jump around. Thanks, Ethan. Appreciate it. That's nice. Always good to see stuff like that.
Hey, O'Doyle rules. That's what I heard.
O'Doyle rules.
I had to pull it out. I thought of it.
He said he'd rather have a gap year of Micah Hyde.
I mean, so would I.
I would rather have a career of Micah Hyde. I want to bring him back when he's 35.
All right. Next guy, another safety, Rudy Ford.
No.
I was on the fence about it. I think no.
Okay. So my thing is strictly depth. You do not bring Rudy Ford back and be like, okay, now we have one of our starting safeties figured out. No. Rudy Ford is safety 3 or safety 4. Strictly.
Okay, to be fair, that's the same thing with Savage, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want him starting. And I think with the safety market the way it is now, I don't think there's any other team that's going to pay him to be a starter either.
With where they are in their careers, like with their ages being different, I could see Savage getting a deal on a prove-it deal from a team. Maybe say Buffalo that needs a cheap safety that they can bet a low risk, high reward on. I could see Buffalo signing Savage to be a starter.
Yeah, right. Rasul Douglas is in there telling him that dude's trash.
Or
Look
let
back.
me throw Seattle out there because they released two
Oh.
safeties. They could be looking for a cheap safety. So I think the market will be small for Savage, but I don't think it's like non-existent that he's a starter next year.
Oh, excuse me.
Attractive.
Steve's
Just quality content.
good push.
I'm drinking. Literally.
I'm drinking.
And he was serviceable when he had to fill in for guys injured. So I could also see letting Ford go and letting Anthony Johnson Jr. fill that role. I'd be okay with that as well.
Yeah.
All right. Eric Wilson.
Yes.
2 thumbs up. Absolutely need to have Eric Wilson back. He is like A1 special teams guy and a decent fill-in linebacker.
I like him and McDuffie as backups, dude.
Absolutely. And we're still going to talk linebackers. But that's in potential Campbell not being around. Okay. Next one, Jonathan Owens.
He's another depth piece. He'll probably be really
Yeah.
cheap, honestly.
That's why I think
And
too.
he was okay.
I think he started
really
playing a little
good.
better at the end of the year too.
Mm-hmm.
He played like a monster in that Lions game.
And I think he's a good guy to have around the team. Like he's just a good dude to have around the clubhouse. Like Jake and I can make this comparison to the Brewers. Is like I feel like he's kind of like Andrew McCutchen without an MVP, obviously.
Yeah.
Was the leading tackler
I
in
feel that.
2022. But like that kind of locker room guy.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah,
Um,
I found
so-
it. I honestly hate our entire safety room. So
Yeah.
not that I hate them as people. They're just like they're not. They didn't get it done.
So I have Rudy Ford and Jonathan Owens like bracketed together, both as maybes, and it would strictly be one or the other.
Yeah. Agreed.
I agree with that as well.
And I'll just throw this out there on the next 2 guys. I have the exact same thing written for these 2, strictly as special teams depth. Zane Anderson and Robert Rochelle.
Down both of them.
I would take one of them back for special teams.
Didn't Zane Anderson make like back-to-back mistakes in a game last year?
Yeah.
That was like
that, and then
no.
he had like one special teams tackle where he tackled a dude at like the 12-yard line on a kickoff.
No,
He had like a flag on one play, and then later in the game,
No.
he had like a holding or some shit.
That was a different white guy. That was the other white guy. I'm messing up my white guys. It was the dude that came from Oakland.
Yeah, I know who you're saying. I can't remember his name.
I don't
Bisaccia
remember
wanted
his
him.
name. I didn't remember his name, dude.
The dude that came.
But that's who it was. It wasn't Zane Anderson.
No, I know who you're talking about. I just can't remember his name.
He was like number 6. He was number 6.
Yeah, cut
Oh,
like
Dallin Levitt.
Dallin Levitt.
Dylan Levitt. That's who
and
it
then
was.
he got released the next week.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
it was him. He was one that made
That's
the
right.
mistake. I'm sorry, Zane. I'll give you a thumbs up. You were good.
Yeah, I would take, like I said, I would take one or the other strictly for special teams.
I gotta look some up now.
You'll have to. I apologize. I look at a lot of people's names, so if I don't remember the
Getting into
on
draft
the
prep
bottom?
only gonna be worse when we're talking more names.
bro, especially with the draft stuff, you read so many names like, oh, this is this guy's coach. Like, why don't I even know his coach's name, dude?
I literally only have one group of our draft prep done, and it's the offensive line, and I've already seen like 60 names that I've whittled down to 25.
That's terrible, dude.
There's so much that goes into it. Like
I've only
people
done
that
the
watch our
tackles.
show, people that watch our shows say good things about our draft prep, and I promise you there is an amount of work that we put into it that makes those comments valid. Not to say that they wouldn't be, but yeah,
I've
we
only
do our
looked at
homework on the draft
tackles.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more on the defensive side of the ball, and then I have one special teamer who is technically restricted. But last defensive guy is Corey Ballantyne.
Bring him back.
Yeah, I'm good with Valentine.
I don't remember what I put. Hold on.
You said he's a restricted free agent?
Nope, the
No.
special teamer is.
Oh.
Pretty sure Ballantyne is
If
unrestricted.
he comes as like a 5th or 6th cornerback, he made some plays last week. Or yeah, sure.
I'll be straight up. I'd rather have him playing corner than Keyshawn Nixon.
Yes.
You say yes?
Like, I agree with that.
Oh,
Well, I'm guessing that he means yes then. Okay. The special teams guy that I wrote down, just technically because he is a restricted free agent, because I think they signed him as an undrafted player, is Daniel Whelan.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
cool with Wheeler.
I'll say this: I wouldn't.
Hope
look
Milton is
forward-
a free agent too.
Pretty sure there was a couple games last year when we said Whelan was like the star of the game. So
Yeah. or the underrated performer. He's in that category.
Bo Melton's an exclusive rights free agent too.
Yes.
Well, I think we
He's
all would
definitely
say,
coming back.
yeah.
I actually don't hate that comparison.
Steve said Ballantyne felt like Gunter, decent if not paired on a top wide receiver. And I think that's totally fair, totally fine.
I look forward to some Melton versus Melton matchups in spring training.
Oh, that'd be so awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. Training camp, the Melton brothers going together. That'd be sweet. That'd be so fun. All right. Anything else you guys want to say on any Packers current free agents before we get into everybody else's free agents?
No.
All right, you guys want to start with offense or defense? I feel like we should start with offense because defense is going to be more fun.
Sure.
Offense. Yeah, I agree.
Anybody want to volunteer to go first?
I'll go first.
Did you guys put them in order, or do we just go?
I have mine in order,
I have
I'm
my
ready.
order too.
so we're
Do you-
gonna count down. So Jake, give me your number
Five.
5.
I only want to go first because you said we're not signing him. But if you really think about it, hang on. I have a real reason. Hold on.
Oh shit!
It is Derrick Henry, and I have a real reason. Think of all the times we failed on 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1s when A.J. Dillon wasn't able to push the pile.
Oh shit!
Derrick Henry's falling forward. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he's a
Dude,
guy.
I'd be thrilled
This
with
could
Derrick Henry.
honestly be a match made in heaven. No, seriously, it could. We tried to keep their carries down on Jones, keep him fresh on the year. For the last 5 years, Derrick Henry's led the NFL in carries. The guy needs a back that he can, take some series off and be fresh at the end of the year. He's never had that, right? And he's had 10 plus touchdowns
Steve's
in
all for it.
6 straight seasons.
Let them cook.
I have a real reason. Like, I think that this would be an awesome pair. Now,
Maybe he's talking about King Henry and not Jake.
Oh.
hey,
Maybe.
I'm with. This is my crowd too. That Jones and Henry would be an awesome duo, and we just opened up a Super Bowl window. And if you need a guy that can punch it in from a yard out, I don't know if you're naming 5 that are better than Derrick Henry. I'm sorry.
Let's throw this out there too. We've talked about the idea of pairing Aaron Jones with Jonathan Taylor.
Dude, I didn't even think of what Steve said. See, Steve is smarter than me.
Steve said, "Does the relationship with Matt mean anything?" So I mean, Matt LaFleur was in Tennessee.
Yeah. See, so I actually think it's a possibility.
And, I don't know if his name is going to come up with any of us, but there's rumors that the Packers were interested in Saquon Barkley.
Mm.
So, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Packers are looking to pair 2 RB1 type players together.
They're good.
Still not happening, but I'll let you cook. Simon, give me your number 5.
I have Graham Glasgow. I think he could slide either either center or right guard, and then offer the Packers a little more flexibility in the draft. And he was so good in the run game last year.
Yeah.
I like it. Bryant, who's your number 5?
I put DeAndre Swift.
Okay.
I think he'd be fun to pair with Aaron Jones. Still a little bit younger. Had a really good year with the Eagles last year. Over 1,000 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, and I still think he'll come relatively cheap with who's on the market.
Kevin said re-sign Ballantyne, Melton, Owens, and maybe Nyman and test the waters in the open market. I just don't want to overspend. I could see that. That's fair. I think we were all in the consensus that Nyman's probably going to get starter money.
I think so.
Melton, Ballantyne, and Owens, totally on board with that. Steve asked, is Henry's age potentially baked into a lower number, especially with a loaded running back class?
Well, you got to think about two things. One, he's 30 years old now, so he's getting lower money for that. Two, I just said he doesn't have a lot of tread left on these tires. People know who he is, and they know what they're getting out of him. He's just not an RB1 anymore. He's a guy that's going to get you the tough yards with occasional splash big plays, right? And, thirdly, I mean, yeah, this is a loaded free agency class, and the running back, I did my running backs already. The running back draft is pretty good. I don't think that there's any superstars, not like last year with, Bijan Robinson coming out. And I don't think that there's any superstars, but there are really good players. And running back is a position that you're constantly putting new guys in. You can get guys off the practice squad that can come in for a game and give you 50 yards, pass block, and maybe catch a few balls. Derrick Henry is limited to a power runner.
Let me throw a hypothetical out there with Derrick Henry. And now, this is purely speculation on my part, but I just want to throw out a potential hypothetical. Let's say that Derrick Henry isn't looking to get paid one big time, 2-year, $30 million deal or something like that.
Yeah.
What if Derrick Henry is now looking at hitting 30 and he's going to try to get like 2 or 3 1 or 2 year deals and try to extend his career?
Could be.
I'll throw that out there as a hypothetical. Okay. So my number 5 is a former Wisconsin Badger. I have Tyler Biotish to play center. He had some bad games here and there, but not nearly as inconsistent as Josh Myers.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their good games, their bad games. Looking at pressure rates. So he allowed 27 pressures and 728 passes. That's a 3.7 pressure rate. Josh Myers allowed 3.9, so he's better there. A low penalties guy. He only allowed 1 sack to Myers 5. So I looked at Tyler Biotish for my number 5. Jake, who's your number 4 on offense?
I have a former Badger on my number 4.
Oh, is it the same as mine?
Hey, Kevin Zeiler. I think he could be a good signing. He's going to be 34. He's the second highest rated guard in pass blocking. So he's a very good pass blocker. His run blocking has gone down the last couple of years. Look at the team he's on. He's on the Ravens. They like to run the ball. So he doesn't necessarily fit what they want to do anymore. And I think that he could be just a guy that could, like Steve in the comments was talking about gap years with Hyde. I think he could be a guy that, a couple gap years with Zeitler at right guard, put him right between Tom and whoever we draft at center. I think he could help out a lot. And I think it would be a perfect fit, honestly.
I'll throw this out there, too, that there's a precedent there for the Packers doing something like this with a guy like Jeff Saturday.
Yeah.
Simon, is it fair to say that your number 4 might be the same guy?
No, sorry. I was thinking I have another Badger on my list, but it's on the defense.
Oh.
All righty, Simon.
So my number 4 is a former Packer, Greg Van Roten. I think he played pretty well at right guard last year. He gave up 5 sacks and 21 pressures and over 1,000 snaps. He played pretty decent in run game.
Not bad.
He's a little older, but if you want to do a 1-year deal,
yeah,
plug and play.
Do that and draft a guy to play right guard next year.
Yeah,
totally see that. Bryant, who's your number 4?
This one's kind of more of a fun pick, and I think it would have to come with because we traded someone as well. But I put a big game Gabe Davis up there as a deep threat.
Ooh,
I like it. I like it. So after we trade Christian Watson to the Colts for Jonathan Taylor, then we can sign
exactly. Then you go grab Gabe Davis, and we're cooking with gas.
I get it. All right. My number 4, I'm sticking another offensive lineman. I have Andre James, another center. So he had 3 straight really, really solid years for Vegas before having kind of a down year last year. His pressure rate allowed last year was only 3.3, so even lower than Tyler Biotish. Only had 3 penalties last year and allowed 4, still less than Josh Myers. Jake, number 3.
I'm going to fuck his name up, and I tried to practice it today. God damn it. All right. He's a guard from the Patriots, Mike Onwenu.
Yep.
Did I say it good?
Yeah, it's something like
Good
that.
enough.
On
Sure. I was practicing for like 2 hours today downstairs. I feel good.
2 hours on Wenu. All right.
For a 5-letter name.
Dude, you have no idea the social anxiety I get for like messing names up, dude. It kills me. But anyways, he's just a good player. He can play multiple positions. He just sounds like a Packer to me, and I just think he'd be a great fit. Right guard, left guard, center, doesn't matter. He's played it all.
Interior offensive line. Got it. Simon, who's your number
Simon?
Sorry. Antonio Gibson. I think he would be a fun third down back. He had 48 receptions last year, very limited playing time. He had over 3.5 yards per contact, or yards per contact per attempt. Yards after contact per attempt, excuse me.
It's a lot of words.
Sorry, words. I think he'd be super fucking cheap for the Packers to bring in, especially to get rid of like a guy like Taylor. They don't feel like what's his name? I forgot the guy, undrafted guy last year that made the team. Wilson, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you've watched it or not, because I know we get upset with his pessimism sometimes, but Andy Herman had a real good breakdown of why he thought Antonio Gibson would be a good ad. The only thing was his fumbles, but I think
I was gonna mention that. Like, that's the only downside to him is he has really poor ball security.
But I think that'd be a good ad too.
Brian, who's your number 3?
Yeah, my number 3 is, and this is, I don't know that we can pair them together, but you kind of mentioned it. Saquon Barkley, like, because with his age, if you say we lose Jones, then you bring him in and you have him for the next 3-4 years and you pair him with a young back in the draft. But if you bring Saquon in and him and Jones play together, it's likely one of them's going to get injured, and now you'll have the other one to go to. But
it'll be really fun for 5 games of the year when they're both on the field at the same time.
But could you imagine both of them are receiving threats, huge receiving threats? Barkley, since he's entered the league, has averaged just shy of 100 yards a game. I mean, like, if you give each of them 12 touches a game, like, help them stay healthy, that'd be pretty fun to watch.
Honestly,
as a fantasy manager,
a formation.
I don't care about your fantasy team, dude. I'm trying to win the Super Bowl.
The thing of a formation with Love is in shotgun, and he's got Saquon Barkley to his left and Aaron Jones to his right. Like, that's nasty. That's
Jaden Reed and Christian Watson. Oh.
And we are playing Madden with that one, but that's, like I said, the Packers have picked on him. So
damn,
my hands are sticking to my leg all of a sudden.
It's like reading Braille. Am I right, fellas?
All right, so my number 3 is the guy who's already been mentioned, and it's Kevin Zeitler. He's very reliable center, low penalties, good in the run and the pass. Another really low pressure rate guy. His is only 3.2%. So just continuing to get lower with the guys that I put on here. Steve said Saquon with a QB and wide receivers. Man, with the attention not on him every single play, yeah, could go off. That'd be fun.
And an offensive line. Did we forget that part?
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Jake, give me your number 2.
Number 2 is fun to say. He's also a good player. Lots of snaps at right guard and center. His name is Lloyd Cushenberry III. He's a center from Denver. He gave up 14 pressures on 647 pass blocking reps. He's gotten pretty elite, I would say, at pass blocking. He's coming along in the run blocking area, but he's just another guy. I'm just trying to build the trenches here, boys. I think building the trenches is the way to go. The good teams are all good up front. I mean, look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are good up front, and they've won back-to-back Super Bowls. Now, it helps when you have a good quarterback, but keeping them upright is an important thing, right? So I think getting Cushenberry would be a very underrated move.
And actually, that's my number 2 too. So I'll jump in
real
quick. And the reason I picked him over some of the other ones that you guys are is because he's only 26, right? So I'm looking at people that, because last thing, it can be hard if you keep changing centers on a quarterback. So I figured if they bring in someone like Lloyd Cushenberry, they're bringing him in for 3-4 years, and you're going to have a chance to develop that, rapport. So
I agree.
Simon, who's your number 2?
I have Trent Brown.
And
Patriots.
Hingle McCringleberry.
I do like Hingle McCringleberry.
What about LaCarpatron Duke Marriott?
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Xmas Flaxen Jackson Waxon.
Chainsaw noises. No.
Dolphin noises. Alex Smith, BYU.
Leon Maxwell Gilliams.
I like Trent Brown. If the Packers dump Bakhtiari's contract, and they're unsure with Rasheed Walker. I think they could bring in Trent Brown, create some competition out there, and allow a little more flexibility in the draft. We don't feel like we have to spend top capital for a left tackle. I mean, it's all dependent, but it's my second guy.
So my number 2, I have a running back here. I have Kareem Hunt. Now, Kareem Hunt is the guy that we've seen go into a scenario where he knows he's not going to be the number 1 guy, but still carved out a pretty big role as a complimentary back. So that's where I can see Kareem Hunt slotting in behind Aaron Jones.
He said he can probably kick for us too.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys what popped into my head after you said that one. But looking at short yardage situations, which is what AJ Dillon was drafted to thrive in with his size, inside the 5, Kareem Hunt had 11 carries last year. He scored 7 touchdowns. He had 15 carries inside the 10. He scored 8 touchdowns. And we know he can catch the ball, and he's an okay pass blocker. So that's potentially where the maybe not for Kareem Hunt is, because we know running backs have to be able to pass block. So Jake, who's your number 1?
It was already brought up. His name is Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley and Aaron Jones together would be, you want to talk about a Mamma Mia, dude. Holy shit, bro. Like, so we were talking last week, Bryant and Tyler probably remember this. Simon was busy building igloos. But I was talking about, I want a guy that could come in and we don't miss a beat with our offense, right? Or we don't have to throw away half the playbook. We don't have to do that with Saquon. And honestly, we get to add to the playbook having 2 guys that could do all that stuff. And, Tyler, you brought it up with Saquon and Jones next to I almost said Aaron Rodgers, next to Jordan Love. Next to Jordan Love, dude. Holy cow, dude. Either one can you could run the ball with either guy. You could just have them both go out. You could throw a screen to either guy. You could set up screens to both guys, make it look like screens, and then just have Musgrave just steaming down the middle, dude. Like, oh my God. The flexibility with this offense would be insane.
Or you think about it, you'd have, Musgrave and Tucker Kraft out there blocking for them in front of them too.
Yeah. And guys like Jaden Reed who care about blocking, Christian Watson who cares about blocking. I mean, this team would be, oh my God, that would be nasty.
Just giving an offense that seems like it already has a lot of weapons, more weapons.
Right.
Simon, who's your number 1?
So this is also kind of dependent, but Connor Williams tore his ACL in week 14 last year, but he was one of the best centers in the league. He only allowed 6 pressures and 1 sack on almost 500 snaps. And he was just so good last year. So if he has a clean bill of health and the Packers don't mind waiting a couple weeks into the season to get him going, I wouldn't mind them bringing him at all. Bringing him in at all. Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Steve said you got to believe this young team with Love has free agents giving a second thought. And that's what being good in a small market in a cold weather scenario does. And obviously the legendariness of Green Bay and Titletown and all that helps. But yeah, being good and having a good young quarterback definitely helps. Bryant, who's your number 1?
That's where I had Mike Onwenu. Once again, because he's 26. He just turned 26, I believe. Another dude that's just young and versatile. He played inside at guard and on a tackle position. So that's been huge for us as the versatility of our line, because, if you have 3 people that you can kind of slot anywhere on the line, which we do right now with Jenkins, we would with Jenkins and Tom as well, that's pretty good trio there if you were able to pick him up.
All right. So I'm glad my number 1 guy didn't get mentioned at all. So I'm going to go right here. So this guy, I think he's a perfect
MVS. I said MVS.
Yep. Number 1, MVS. Perfect guy to back up Aaron Jones. Okay, so
Oh, he wouldn't have to catch the ball at least.
Yikes.
oh, good. Okay, so this guy wasn't brought up. He would be a really good compliment, and I think he's a realistic option and is affordable, and his role would fit. So, AJ Dillon, I've already brought this up with Kareem Hunt that we need to succeed in short yardage and inside the 5, inside the 10-yard line. So, inside the 10-yard line, AJ Dillon had 2 touchdowns on 18 carries.
Ooh.
Inside the 5-yard line, AJ Dillon had 1 touchdown on 7 carries. Aaron Jones had 2 touchdowns on 6 carries, and Jordan Love was 3 for 3.
Jordan Love, new RB1.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We already signed him. This is a great signing. Just
My
extend him.
number 1 is Gus Edwards.
Oh.
That's
Gus
interesting.
Edwards, he also has good hands. He's not a good blocker, so that caveat comes with this. But here we go.
Dylan wasn't good either.
So
Stone was fine. It wasn't great,
Not
but
all that good.
inside the 5-yard line, Gus Edwards had 19 carries. He scored 12 touchdowns.
ooh.
That is 63% of his carries inside the 5-yard line. He scored touchdowns. He had 30 carries inside the 10-yard line. He scored 13 touchdowns.
Or we bring back Jamal Williams too. That's what it would remind me of, though, is like the early years with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. I think Gus Edwards would be a really good signing. Sneaky good signing.
Gus Edwards would be like my ideal RB2, a guy that you know you're bringing in to back up Aaron Jones and is familiar with, being in a committee backfield, and you're bringing him in for the skill set that he is good for and not asking him to do things that are outside of the role that he's played. You're bringing him in strictly to do what he's good at. And it strictly fits a need that the Packers have for what I think is a realistic signing and one that wouldn't break the bank at the running back position.
So that's like my only problem with like bringing guys like Henry or like Saquon or something. I don't know that Green Bay is going to want to have that much invested in the running back, which is why I think Swift is a good. I didn't even really think about DeAndre Swift or Gibson. I think both could come pretty cheap, and I think Green Bay is also going to spend draft capital in there. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see Barkley and Jones in the same backfield. I just think it's probably not going to happen.
So yeah, I think as far as making sense and fitting needs and fitting the role of the player, I think Gus Edwards is my big guy. All right, let's move to defense. There are so many options here for the defensive side of the ball, and we can go in the reverse order.
Did you guys have anyone on the offense that just missed your list that you were also considering?
There's a lot of offensive linemen like that were a little bit older that I'll be totally fine with even if they use them for a 1 or 2 year gap. And there's other running backs like Tony Pollard. I would be interested in depending.
I thought about Pollard too.
So Austin Eckler for a 1 or 2 year, but you're getting a lot of old people in that room at that point. Jacobs, out of Oakland out of Vegas would be interesting too.
My number 1 got sniped yesterday. It was Kevin Dotson. I really wanted Kevin Dotson. He just got signed by the Rams yesterday. He would have been you want to talk about making the old line a power, dude. He's one of the best run blocking right guards in the league last year. There's a reason that Kyron Williams had so many touchdowns.
I put Tyron Smith on my list of guys to look up to. Okay, so jump into defense. We'll go the opposite order this time. So I'll go first. My number 5. Now, this is strictly number 5 because it is a high risk, potentially high reward. My number 5 is Tre'Davious White. Now, I know the first thing that every single person is going to say is, well, he's only played 10 games in the last 2 years. I know that. That's why he's low on my list. But over his career, he's only allowed 56% completion percentage. He has 18 touchdowns. His missed tackle percentage is high, but it's not as high as Darnell Savage's. So I'll say that. So I understand that the injury risk is high. I get that. I know that that's the knock on him. Everybody knows that that's the knock on him. but you sign him to a low guarantee with incentives for games played, for statistics accrued, and things like that. And you get potentially a cornerback duo of two guys that can be all pros. So again, if this is a situation where when we get into our upper lists here and you sign some of these other guys that we're going to talk about, that you can bring in a guy like Tre'Davious White on a deal, maybe it's only 1 year, maybe he's only looking for 1 year to prove that he can be healthy. But if you can bring in a guy like that on a low guaranteed deal with incentives for playing games and for accruing statistics, I think there is an option there where the Packers get good value and Tre'Davious White gets to show that he can be healthy and then get paid in 2025. Bryant, who is your number 5?
Yeah, so there's a lot of DBs and stuff I could have put on here, but just for the sake of like difference, I put a couple different positions that I think are needs and then one luxury one. This one would be kind of a luxury. I think he's probably priced out for us, but it'd be fun to watch them play together. And I put Patrick Queen. I thought it'd be kind of interesting to pair. Both of them kind of do similar things, so I feel like it'd be fun to kind of pair them together. It'd be interesting. Make sure because I think Quay's good enough to play coverage as well, and I thought that'd be kind of an interesting pairing of Patrick Queen and Quay Walker.
2 days ago, I would have said there's no shot that Baltimore lets him go, but given the massive contract that they just gave to Justin Madubuike, I think it's a little more possible than it was just a day or two ago. Steve asked the question, what's the cornerback pecking order if we add a true cornerback? Regardless of players added, it's going to be Jair if they sign somebody, and then Stokes and Carrington Valentine right now are on even ground. That's going to be a training camp battle to watch is who takes over who in that situation. Simon, who's your number 5 on defense?
I feel bad for Stokes too.
Yeah, absolutely.
His situation sucks. But at this point, anything we can get out of him is a big plus.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, I also have a linebacker. Robert Spillane played on the Raiders. I think he's a little bit smaller, maybe around Trent McDuffie. Holy, I'm on one today. McDuffie size. But he played pretty well as a full-time starter for the Raiders last year. He had 52 stops, and he could be a really solid depth piece for us if they don't feel like getting one from the draft. He's okay in coverage.
With that, Jake, who's your number 5?
This is my most outlandish one, and that's the only reason that he's number 5. But again, I was trying to build the front, and this guy's going to get paid, by the way, and he's young and he's good. Christian Wilkins from Miami. Yeah. He's played 81 out of 83 games. He's had at least 10 tackles for loss in each of the last 3 seasons, and he's hilarious when he's mic'd up. Dude, he would be.
I've seen his mic up stuff.
He honestly, if I was actually ranking like impact players, he'd be much higher on my list. But as unlikely as it is, because he's about to get a lot of goddamn money.
He's about to get reset the market money.
Yeah, he's about to get over 100 million. But he would be.
If you had to say
crazy.
On a yearly average, over or under 27.5?
Under. I think it's going to be quite
Madubuike just signed for 26.
He's probably getting over.
And there's talks that Christian Wilkins could get 30. I think Christian Wilkins could get 28.
I think so too.
Especially with the cap going up like 30 million this year.
That's why when people are like, "Oh, this player set the market," you just can't be surprised anymore. With
the market,
the market resets because the cap keeps going up,
and it's gonna keep going up. And I love that 2 years ago I said that the cap could reach 300 million by 2027, and we're perfectly trending in that direction.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. All right, my number 4. Jake brought up Dexter Lawrence before. And I have another Giants defensive lineman as my number 4. I have A'Shawn Robinson. I think he's actually a really underrated guy next to Dexter Lawrence. So he will be 29 in about 2 weeks. And he's a good tackler. And you put him in the mix with Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton to help stop the run. He had 36 run stops last year as a defensive lineman. So another guy that can just eat blocks, and you can rotate him in, like I said, with Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton at that defensive line. Ashawn Robinson, my number 4. Bryant, who's your number 4?
There's another linebacker I put Frankie Luvu from Carolina. I think he'd be fun to be kind of a wrecker along the line, and then that's where you let Quay do a little bit more roaming. I think he would be. I think he had something like 6 sacks this last year, so he can rush the passer as well. So I think that'd be kind of a fun pairing too.
Simon, who's your number 4?
I have a couple of edge guys coming. Dorrance Armstrong from the Cowboys with Enagbari's ACL injury and him being out for a lot of the year. I think the Packers will look for some edge depth and some sort of capacity. I think he could come in. He had 34 pressures and 9 sacks with 23 stops on a very limited snap count. I think he had 450 or so snaps. So I think he could provide some depth.
Sweet. Jake, who's your number 4?
Sidebar, I don't think Enagbari is going to be out that long. People are coming back from ACLs a lot quicker than they used to. Also, he's still very, very young, and he's athletic, so he could come back, early of the year.
I think he'd start on the pub, but
yeah, I think he could come back after 4 or 5 weeks. I don't think he's going to be out that long.
Steve's hoping Cox gets runs this year. I'll say this, with the influx of Jeff Hafley's system of needing tweener kind of edge rush guys, I think Cox will be a guy who's in the fold.
Yep.
Yeah. So my number 4, we're trying to build that front 7, right? So I was going to go Patrick Queen. Again, he's lower on this list because he's probably about to get paid a lot of money too, probably 5 years, $90-ish million. He had a really good year next to Roquan Smith, but if you could put him next to Quay Walker, I think that could be a marriage that could work out really, really well for the Packers. A guy that they should have drafted over Kevin King, but here we are.
There's a lot of guys who should have drafted over Kevin King.
Yeah.
What do you mean, like Hall of Fame for TJ Watt?
All right. After this guy, it gets real for me. Just so you know, the top 3, it gets real.
Yeah. Allow me to kick off the safeties here. My number 3 is Jordan Fuller. 55.6 completion percentage against him, a 73.8 passer rating when targeted. How do you really feel?
That's exactly what I have written down.
Do you also have written down that he's a good tackler, has 3 interceptions and 5 passes defensed in 2024? The fact that he's 6'3", 203, and just turned 26 years old?
Yeah, pretty much all of that.
Yeah, that's my number 3. I have 2 guys that I would still rather have. The safety market for free agency is wild. There's so much opportunity.
If the Packers can walk away with 2 of the guys that I've written down in any capacity, I would love that. And then I think they'll still draft another one.
Yeah. And I'm going to put a sidebar on here too. I have a lot of safeties coming up on my list, and Justin Simmons didn't make my list because he wasn't a free agent when I took all my notes. So Justin Simmons is absolutely in play here as well. So, Bryant, who's your number 3?
So mine is a more a safety I think may become a little more affordable, and that's Julian Blackmon out of Indianapolis. He played like 350 slot snaps as well. He's just a guy that I think can do a lot. And he's not as well known, but he had a pretty solid year. So I think that'd be a really strong signing. Would be Julian Blackmon out of Indy.
Steve said, "I will not be shocked if we were still questioning how we can go into a year with that safety group." Like I said, the opportunity, especially with free agency, is Goody's not stupid. We know that.
Yep.
We've seen it in his last couple drafts that he has absolutely nailed them. He's not stupid to not know that there are an embarrassment of riches in free agency for safety options.
Honestly, we probably went into this year because we had enough to get through, and there was other needs of position that were more pressing.
Well,
and now this
so.
one's going to the front of the line.
Yeah, the cap was a little more
Rogers'
difficult to
dead
navigate
cap
last
was a
year.
little egregious.
That and everyone else. We had $50-some million
in
cap last year.
It's nothing compared to what Denver's about to go through with Russell Wilson.
Man.
Yeah.
Or what New Orleans has been in the last couple of years. Steve said it's that way because the league does not value the position.
That's fair.
I mean,
you have to be insanely good, or you're getting value.
You have
That's
to
what
be
it is.
like Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates is the exact example that I thought of.
Paid.
He-
Or Kyle Hamilton, if he keeps playing the way
he's gonna get paid.
Yeah, he'll be the
That
highest
dude's so
paid
good.
2 years for sure.
I don't know
There's
how
no
he
middle
fell
ground
that far in the
running back,
draft.
I guess is what I'm feeling.
Safety is the running back of defense. People think that they could just draft it and replace it in 1 year, and sometimes you can, sometimes you get lucky, but a lot of times you can't. I mean, look at Aaron Jones. Look at the value Aaron Jones has. He thinks that you can just get a fast guy that can catch the ball. He's just going to be the same as Aaron Jones. There's a lot of intangibles that go into those positions that people aren't really respecting. I agree with Steve. They don't respect the safeties position like they used to. There's a lot of responsibility they have.
But outside
running backs, tight ends, tackle in open space, cover deep. I mean, there's a lot of shit they have to do.
Yeah.
Think about a running back. They have to block these big giant linemen. They have to run the ball. They get hit in the legs 4 or 5 times every damn play. There's a lot of shit that goes into those positions, man. And they're not valued because they get hit a lot and they break down faster.
Steve said Derwin James.
Yeah, look at him.
He was
down fast as shit.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we at?
Me, 3.
Simon's number 3.
I had Julian Blackman just off my list. But he's someone I considered. Another edge guy, Andrew Van Ginkel from the Dolphins.
There's your former Badger.
There's the former
Van
Badger.
Ginkel, baby.
He had 53 pressures and 8 sacks last year and 31 stops.
He's a good player.
Consideration.
Just missed my list.
He had a good. He had a good year last year.
Yeah, it's a good player.
Jake, who's your number 3?
Building that front 7 again, boys. And I'm talking about a guy that eats up a lot of space. He don't take shit. His name is DJ Reader.
Well, that's gonna be you.
Former D tackle from the Bengals. He might go back there because when you look at that defense, man, when he's on the field, their run defense is damn near elite, in my opinion. That defense completely changes with him in the middle, controlling the A and B gaps. People don't run the ball on them very well. But again, I'm just sick and tired of people running the ball on us. So putting him next to Kenny Clark and letting Kenny Clark get more one-on-one opportunities would just be filthy. He had a career year in sacks. Imagine if you put a guy next to him that demands a double team. Filthy.
All right. So my number 2 is Julian Blackman. A couple other things that I want to throw out there. He's a sure tackler. He's a ball hawk. He had 4 interceptions, 2 passes defensed, 55.8 passer rating when targeted last year. And like Bryant mentioned, he did line up in a bunch of different places. So he lined up 308 snaps at free safety. He lined up 468 snaps in the box and 175 as a slot. So that to me, the importance there is that he can be in different situations as a safety. And with Hafley's defense coming in and the way that they're going to move guys around and the way that they're going to change things up, having a guy that can play safety by himself is going to be important to me, as well as having a guy that can come closer to the line of scrimmage and have a different safety. That's why when Simon said if we can get 2 of some of these guys that we're going to talk about, I'm 1,000% on board with getting 2 of these guys. So Julian Blackman is my number 2. Bryant, who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Xavier McKinney for pretty much a lot of what you just said. The dude had 94 tackles last year, an 87.8 PFF grade. 3 of his 4 years in the NFL, he's been over 70 for his PFF grade. 3 interceptions. He had 54 targets against him, only allowed 33 receptions. So really just kind of safety that can do it all for us and play all over the field. So I put Xavier McKinney. That'd be a pretty – if we're going to make a big signing, I feel like it'd be someone like that.
Yeah, spoiler alert, it's not the last time his name is going to be said. Simon, who's your number 2?
Okay, so the next 2 guys I feel like can fill that Hafley middle of the field safety, cover 3, cover 1 kind of guy. And both of them have already been mentioned. Jordan Fuller, and then for all the reasons Tyler said that I had it written down as well.
Simon and I feel like we got our numbers at the same place, probably.
Maybe.
All right, Jake, who is your number 2?
All right, so number 1 and number 2 kind of go together. Number 2 is the backup plan to number 1. He's a guy that's been paid. He's a guy that's getting a little bit older. He's a guy that's played elite for a long time. And he's a guy that's just looking to win at the end of his career, and his name is Justin Simmons.
Love it.
He's projected a 2-year, $22 million contract, $9 million guaranteed. That's a deal for a guy who's going to man the middle of the field and allow Jair to just Jair, you go over there, ruin that guy's day for the next 3 hours. Justin Simmons, you cover everything in the back, and then Rashawn Gary, you just kill the quarterback, okay? Break. Here we go. We're ready to go. LVN, you just flex your muscles and scare the whole offensive line. That's what's going to happen if we sign Justin Simmons. He's going to absolutely set everything up. And the thing about a good safety is I'm going to make a correlation to basketball as the Bucks game has started already, but a safety is a really good safety gets everybody in the right spot, just like point guard in basketball, right? Point guards are the guys that set everything up. So a good safety like Justin Simmons, a guy who's been here and done that and been paid, like I said, I think that would do wonders for this team, especially in the first year of a new system.
And we talked about it when the Packers lost to the Broncos last year. To put respect on Justin Simmons, he is one of those dudes at safety.
Dude, his play recognition on that halfback pass was insane. He was the entire reason that it wasn't a touchdown or a wide receiver to the halfback. Sorry.
Yeah. It's no surprise Xavier McKinney is my number one. And dude, if we could pair Justin Simmons and Xavier McKinney in our safety room, that goes from probably the worst position group on the team to one of the best.
It's the best.
That dude, if Goody could find a way to pull that off, we joke around, we throw around certain gifs in our chat, and there's one specific button that it would just be like
the blue button.
The blue button, yeah.
Or the police officer.
Some people have allergies to what is written on that button.
Yeah,
I'm fond of the police officer gif. That's my favorite.
There's like a South Park one too that I think would fit. So Xavier McKinney is one of those guys that I think could play the single high safety by himself and still have control of the downfield. So when targeted, he allowed 61.1 completion percentage, and then when targeted, 52.1 passer rating. Xavier McKinney, his missed tackle percentage. So I brought up Darnell Savage's that his was 17. Xavier McKinney's was 5.7.
It's insane. And he had 94 tackles or whatever it was.
And he's 6 feet tall, 201 pounds. He had 3 interceptions, 3 passes defensed. And then I mentioned Julian Blackmon's lineup numbers. Xavier McKinney played 388 snaps in the box, 464 snaps as a free safety, and 167 in the slot. So another guy, if you could pair Xavier McKinney and Julian Blackmon, your safety room is set for the next 4 years. So Simon, when you said to pair possibly 2 of these guys, I seriously could not agree more. And there are plenty of options to try to do so. So, Bryant, who's your number one?
It's the pipe dream, and that would be Christian Wilkins. Like, could you imagine him on the line with Kenny Clark? It's not going to happen. There's just not enough money to give out. But man, that'd be fun. So,
it's like the offense version or the defense version of Jake saying Saquon is his number one to pair with Aaron Jones.
It would be disgusting, dude.
Super fun to think about. Simon, who's your number one?
Xavier McKinney. Can you bring up Steve last comment?
Yep, right here. This one.
So, Derek Ansley is now the pass game coordinator for the Packers, who was the defensive backs coordinator?
DB coach, yep.
DB coach in Alabama. I'm just saying. And go.
He commented about that, didn't he too?
He did. He did. Was it Kay Adams that asked him about it?
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, that's a little more interesting." All of a sudden,
it was that's intriguing. I think he said he was intrigued.
A couple other things too is, I think that's a pipe dream getting Justin Simmons and Xavier McKinney because they both fill their roles disgustingly well. I like a lot of. I don't know if you guys have looked at safeties much in the draft, but there's not a lot of like guys like Xavier McKinney in this draft who can fill that.
Xavier McKinney's in the NFL.
Yeah, that's true. It's very rare to be that good at like single high free safety, and he fills Halfley's system so well. But there are a lot of guys that I feel like could fill, maybe not to Justin Simmons' level, but they could fill his position in the draft. So while those two would be amazing, I don't expect it, but I would also be thrilled. But Xavier McKinney is my number one. Also, he's going to be only 25 years old when the season starts, so he's still young. This is a guy that you could get a multi-year contract out of.
Chris Collinsworth over here.
Okay.
Here's a guy.
Relax.
This is a guy.
This is a guy.
Couldn't help it.
So last year he only allowed a passer rating of 52.1, and he only missed 7 tackles on the year, playing over I think close to 1,000 snaps. That's not a type of production you see get to a free agent market.
Savage
almost
probably did that
ever.
in 3 games.
He probably has.
Right now and see how many games it would if I picked the exact games that I wanted to. Oh, let's see. Missed tackles. I could do it in 3 games. He missed 2 against Atlanta, 2 against Denver, and 3 against the Giants, and 2 against Minnesota.
Ugh.
So take the Giants game and 2 of the other 3, and yes, you can find 3 games total that Savage missed 3 tackles. And that's
And
something
the
that
entire
he missed
defense was bad in a couple of those games.
That's just the dream free agent right there.
I don't know about that one, Steve. Steve said the New York Giants linebackers suck. Not one of them.
Okereke is good.
Okereke?
I talked about it last year. I told you guys he was a fucking.
Isn't he a free agent too?
I don't.
Didn't they just sign him?
Oh,
They
maybe.
just signed him to a big contract last year. But yeah, he's a beast, dude. He does everything.
Yeah, 4 years, $40 million,
Nice. Good
That's
deal.
and 21.8. It is
Look what we're
fully
paying
guaranteed.
Steve said I felt like Halfley was talking about McKinney when describing players he wants. I can absolutely see that. I absolutely can see that being the case. And if Halfley can be like walk into Goody's office and be like, "Hey, give me this dude and let's cook here." And I'll say this, we kind of mentioned him already a little bit, but Buffalo didn't let him get to the market after releasing 2 of their other safeties. But Taylor Rapp would have been a perfect, you do McKinney and Rapp, and you have an expensive safety and a value safety. Like, that would have been perfect. But Buffalo was really smart to not let Taylor Rapp even hit the market.
Yep.
Steve said they brought in Isaiah Simmons because that room needed it. And they were able to take a really super cheap flyer on him. I think they gave, a 6th or a 7th rounder for a former first-round pick.
I think Isaiah Simmons was the guy they thought maybe a change of scenery would do him good, but they didn't take into account that the New York Giants locker room is toxic and they don't have good team.
Yeah. So, Jake, number 1.
Well, this guy had 78 solo tackles, 38 assists. I got my stats off ESPN. Half sack, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, 3 interceptions. He had a 69.8 passer rating.
Nice.
91.2 coverage grade. He's projected 4 years, $61 million, $24 million guaranteed. It's around the Jesse Bates numbers. Jesse Bates was the gem last year at safety. This year, his name is Xavier McKinney. He's the guy. If you're gonna take what's worst and make it a strength, and you're gonna try to completely flip that group around, go get the best guy available. Goot was making comments talking about, we have an opportunity in free agency to really, build this team. They got a couple tough decisions to make. Obviously, I don't wish this decision-making process on anybody, but that's what he gets paid a lot of money to do. You got to push the right buttons, flip the right switches, and I'll tell you what, you flip the Xavier McKinney signing switch. That's a good one. Do that one.
Do that one on Wednesday.
Yeah, do that one.
Let's just get that one out of the way.
Dude. That's when the tampering period starts.
The clock strikes midnight. Let's just flip that one right away.
Yeah,
I
because
agree
teams
with that.
definitely aren't tampering right now, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, the
They can
legal
legally
tampering
tamper
period
on
starts
Monday,
on Monday.
Start tampering on Monday. By all means.
Legal tampering.
I
Steve
know.
said, I've seen his market value between 10 and 14. Where do you think he settles in?
7 for Green Bay.
6.9 even, just to make it fun.
Let's go. I was rounding up.
Never round up when it comes to 6.9.
Yeah. We keep that one alone.
Put the decimal on it. I won't even round it up. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in, sticking with us for a while to talk about some free agent options. Definitely some good ones out there, and I think definitely a lot that the Packers will probably look at. And maybe we'll get some confirmation that they're trying to tamper with some of these guys legally, and we can just give ourselves a pat on the back for the fact that they were even interested in some of these guys. Other than that, next Friday, no Packers show, but Jake and I are going to have our Brewers primer next Friday. So if you are a Brewers fan, next Friday is going to be packed with Brewers guests that we've been interviewing this week and getting some recordings done. There are seriously, I think we're going to have like 6 guests related to the Brewers season next year. And then the following week, March 22nd, that starts our draft preparations with offensive line. And then we have a show every Friday discussing different position groups leading up to our mock draft episode, which, like I said earlier, Mike Spofford is going to join us for. And then after that, we are going to be live for day 1 and day 2 of the draft. So that's where we're at for Fridays coming up. And we're going to get rolling here with our draft prep. So definitely check us out, starting with those Fridays on March 22nd. And then again, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And we will see you guys Wednesday. Jake and I will.
Pack go.
Go Pack go.
Baby, go.